Welcome to another Walter Football video. I'm Charlie Campbell, Senior Draft Analyst, the most accurate mock drafter in the world. If you don't believe me, check the link below. All right, so last week I did a video on how the players got screwed in the ESPN acquisition of NFL Network, how the owners, took advantage of the players once again. So hit on that. And in that video, I was also critical of NFL Network, and as I said in other videos, I don't like to be someone who's offering just criticism and then not offering solutions. So I thought it'd be kind of cool and interesting if I put out a video here of going over ways to make NFL Network better, and then I thought maybe you guys could comment below on ideas that you have, and who knows, maybe some executive at ESPN or Disney or wherever would actually see it and consider their fans and viewers for a change and what they actually want to watch, and then maybe incorporate some of these ideas. Of course, we'd never get credit or money, but at least we might have something better to watch on TV in terms of football. So, all right, let's get into it. How to improve NFL Network. So, I feel as I said last week, and talking to people who've worked there, they said that a lot of the heads of NFL Network were hired out of Hollywood, and the staff and some of the, are saying we need to, kind of dig deeper and not just, focus on the stars, but that's kind of been the way the executives have always looked at it. As what I was told from people that work there is they say, no, we focus on the stars. That's why when in the draft process, they always talk about the guys in the top 10, hardly ever talk about the late first round picks or second, third round picks. Just very little time spent on those guys. You hear about the same players over and over and over again. Last year, there was so much stuff on NFL Network about Ashton Gianti and Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, and you had just so little time talking about a lot of the great D linemen that could have been had in the late first round or on day 2 in this draft. Guys like Tyleik Williams and Jordan Birch and Omar Norman Lott, and the list goes on and on. That was the real strength of this draft. And the people that are watching NFL Network are diehard football fans. No one's putting that on watching it casually. A casual fan is not going to put it on. So you need to appeal to the diehards. It's just plain as day. So you want to hook them in and give them a reason to come back. But I know from talking with people in the league, it's hard to watch because there's so much time spent on nonsense. So let's get into my suggestions. That's kind of the background there from my thought process. So this is suggestion number 1. Teach an NFL offense. Let's have a show, it can be during the season, off season. Really, there's no time, and you could have one of your former coaches who's one of the contributors there, like Mariucci, or hire the Gruden Brothers. My friend John Gruden, Jay Gruden. Hire them. Teach an NFL offense. Let's go through the base offense. Let's go through the terminology. Let's go through, third down. Let's go through red zone. Let's go through all the package of plays. Let's teach everything. I think fans would love that. I think they'd be fascinated. And one of the kind of unknown things about NFL coaches is they are amazing teachers. Like John Gruden, the son of a teacher. His mother was a teacher. His dad was a football coach and scout. Amazing career, Jim Gruden. And coaches love to teach. They love to teach the game. They're great teachers. So let's teach an NFL offense. Let's have a series devoted to that, teaching the terminology, teaching the techniques, teaching all the, aspects of the offense, our goal line package, our red zone package, our third down package, trick plays. There's just, what's our run scheme going to be? We're going to have a mix of zone and we'll have a mix of power man. And you can splice in plays, from actual games to show how it works and why we're having this in our offense. So There's just so much you can do with that. And then second suggestion would be same thing with an NFL defense. Get a former NFL defensive coordinator or head coach. There's so many out there that you could hire to teach an NFL defense. And let's go through our blitz package. Let's go through all the terminology. Let's go through, what's going to be said to our linebacker with the green dot. Let's go through everything. Let's go through what do we want to run, predominantly on third down in terms of back end coverage. Are we going to be a zone team or man team? Are we going to play a lot of press man or off man? Are we going to, how are we going to handle when we have an elite receiver who's a problem, when we need to roll coverage over there and bracket them? So there's so much interesting stuff that could be done there. I just think it's a gold mine, and that I would love to watch. I'd watch it religiously. All right, so those are first couple suggestions. Third suggestion, I would say, I think Hard Knocks in the off season was a good idea. I think that let's do a Hard Knocks draft show, but obviously it'd have to be after the fact. So you have that loses a little bit of luster because it's all watching what previously happened. But I think if you had a crew spending some time talking to the national scouts and the area scouts, filming them as they kind of make their rounds here and there, then kind of going through some of the other things, the draft meetings, the pro days, the interviews, of course, Combine, Senior Bowl, how much a team is participating in those in terms of sending their scouts, because that's really varying across the league now. So I think that would be a fascinating show all the way through the draft. Obviously, it'd have to be, you're putting it all together, and then it would get released, in May or June or something. But I think it'd be awesome to watch, especially in the slower time of year. So I would love to see that. Now, the other thing, next up, I would say kind of getting into shows with technique. So I would say a trenches show. Let's get into having, your former players and coaches get into teaching how and technique, how they want guys to block, how they want edge rushers to come off the edge, showing how to teach pass rushing moves. And then you have clips of how these guys do it in games and how it actually works, how it's supposed to look. Show clips of when it didn't work, why, all those kinds of things. I think there, other parts of it, how are they going to handle when the offense comes out in a formation you weren't expecting, and now you need to, move that end maybe from he's split out wide to coming up into more of a 5 technique snug to the tackle. So I just think there's a lot that you could do there with just kind of teaching the basics and the fundamentals of football. And then you could do the same thing with the receivers and route running and cornerbacks, and there's that tight end of course, that you can do same filming and showing the kind of things that tight ends can work on, and then of course you got the quarterbacks. I mean, that is just an immense amount of material to cover there with their first step, working under center, in shotgun. Are they setting up with their right foot in front or their left foot in front? And that why is because the old school way was always right foot in front. Aaron Rodgers kind of changed it by changing his stance and doing the left foot in front. Now you see it across the league. So you can go into that. We can go into what are drills quarterbacks can do, working on accuracy in the off season. Then let's get into reading the defense. Let's learn, okay, you come out from the huddle, you're reading the defense, what are you looking for? You're using some pre-snap motion to give you a clue as to whether they're playing zone or man. All these things that could be taught in these shows that I think would just be fascinating for fans. So that's another one. Another show idea I had was like a back end show. Like, let's have a show devoted to the backups in the NFL, because every year this is a huge factor in the team that wins the Super Bowl, the team that goes to the Super Bowl, and the teams that fall short because they have injuries and the depth wasn't good enough to get the team to continue to win. So I think it'd be cool to have a show on backups around the league, looking at the position groups and the different rooms in each team. Who's got the best backup offensive line group in the NFL, because that could really make a big difference. Who's got the best depth at defensive line? We can spotlight up-and-coming players that were backups. I remember when Steve Smith wasn't a starter with the Panthers, he ends up earning a starting job, ends up becoming a Hall of Famer. So, and that's been across league history. You have so many great players that started out as backups. So we can spotlight some of the up-and-coming backup players in the NFL who could, it's like Chuba Hubbard, for example, is a great late day 3 pick by the Panthers. Was a backup a few years. Now he's a starter and really turned himself into a solid NFL starting running back. So that's the kind of thing that I think would be really interesting to watch there. And then, lastly, I would say keep the focus on football. Stop the nonsense. I remember putting it on. Obviously, their morning show is meant to be more of, kind of fun, silly football time, I guess. But I remember putting it on in weeks leading up to the draft, just seeing if maybe they had something interesting coming on there, or just some talking about who's taking pre-draft visits where. And they were talking about National Sandwich Day and what sandwich you would pick. And I threw up in my mouth practically. I mean, it's just absurd that you're talking about that on NFL Network. Nobody tuning in gives a damn. They are tuning in for football. You have the draft a few weeks away. I mean, maybe it was my timing's wrong and it was free agency or or training camp, whatever. It doesn't matter. There's always something on the NFL calendar coming up. So you always have stuff to discuss, to focus on, and you don't have to focus on just the stars. So anyways, those are my thoughts just on how to make NFL Network better. Who knows what ESPN has planned for it? They really haven't heard. I haven't seen any kind of update on that, but I definitely think the potential is there for an awesome channel for football fans. You have millions and millions, as The Rock would say, of football fans that would love to watch this stuff, and you are filling the air with a lot of stuff that they clearly are not tuning into, because NFL Network was not profitable until they sold it to ESPN and Disney, and then they finally turned that albatross into a lucrative deal for the owners. And of course the players provide all the content and got screwed out of the sale money and stock with Disney. So that's I guess just par for the course with NFL owners and screwing the players, and the league office of course facilitating that. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd love to see what any ideas you guys have, because I'm really interested in it. So definitely post them below. I'm going to be reading them. I'll check it out, and I'll be back with you guys soon. Take a look at all Walt's fantasy coverage. It's awesome. Get you ready for the fantasy draft on walterfootball.com. Of course, I've got draft stuff going up, preseason work on college players going up, of course. And we got the games coming up here sooner than I can't believe how fast this summer has gone, and we got football back, thank God. Real football that counts in a few weeks. So plenty more coming up to check out there on walterfootball.com in the meantime. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Love to all of you. Be safe. Take care. I'll be back with you soon.